Hola, Shopsters. My name is Cindy Sanchez. I'm RVP 5, and I am here to let you guys know how easy it is to use the CMT for your chapter success. Welcome to NELA CCLP, and I hope you enjoy and take back good feedback from this session. So let's get started. Our agenda today, we're going to review what is the CMT, what does it stand for, why use it. I know some of you guys, this is the first time you're seeing the term CMT, so we'll help cover that. I'll give you an overview of all the tabs that you'll find in the CMT. Then I'll talk a little bit about how to customize it, how to make it your own, make it, according to your chapter's needs. And then I'll give you guys some tips for success. And if you're wondering where you can access the CMT, I'll definitely let you know that as well. After that, I'll give you a live demo of how you can go through the CMT when you're trying to plan an event. Okay, so let's get started. What is the CMT and why should you use it? So the CMT stands for the Chapter Management Tool. It's an Excel-based tool designed for Chef chapters. It's for your operations. It helps with planning, tracking, and also establish a great foundation for the continuity of your chapter because that's what we're working for, right? We want to make sure that our chapters remain strong and remain attuned to Chef's mission and vision. So this will definitely help do that. This is a living document to manage chapter operations year round. So what does that mean? That this should be a document that you refer to every chapter leader meeting, whether you call it executive board meeting, leadership meeting, if you have a committee meeting, if you have just a working meeting with your committee or with another leader in your chapter, definitely this is a good document to refer to and update and use for the planning and the tracking of all of your events and initiatives. This also aligns your chapter work to Chef's mission. So it's easy for you to show all of the work that you've been putting into Chef's mission with this tool. It keeps everyone organized and informed. Again, if you're using it in your leadership or your e-board meetings, it's easy to follow. You're very well organized and everyone is up to date to what is, the most current information on each event and initiative. This also supports seamless officer transitions. So right now, we're in the middle of officer transitions, or maybe you've already completed officer transitions, but this definitely helps establish that if you have all of your goals, objectives, and your calendar of events set for this year, it'll be very easy for the next chapter executive board or leadership board to see exactly what it is that the chapter was aiming for, the goals, what it planned, what it succeeded in, and how to keep it moving and how to keep improving for the next year. This is also flexible and customizable to your chapter's needs. For some of you who have heard about the CMT before and maybe chose not to use it or utilize it as much as you should, maybe this is the key as to why you didn't feel comfortable with using the CMT. So I do want to touch into how you can make it yours, you can customize it to what your chapter specifically needs. Okay. So here we have the overview of tabs in the CMT. So again, it is Excel based. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and you'll have 4 tabs to start with. The first one is the README tab. That is essentially the CMT instructions. And that's exactly what we have here. So we have some resources, you have instructions on how to kind of proceed through the CMT, how to utilize it, and when you're going to submit it for review. You have additional notes there. And then you have 3 other tabs, in which we'll go into more detail later. You have your info tab, that's for your contact info and chapter details. You have your SWOT analysis tab, that's your strategic planning and goal tracking tab. And then you have your chapter schedule tab, that's the calendar and events planning tab. Okay, so the info tab here is exactly that. It's where you input your chapter advisor info if it's applicable to you, your region, your chapter type, size, and other information like social media platforms. Where can we find you? What is your shipping address? That is for specifically for our team that reviews the CMTs and the NCPs later on. And also the section at the bottom where you have the executive board information is very important and crucial because it helps SHEP staff um, get in contact with, whoever needs to be in contact for specific things. So make sure that you are updating this, um, especially if there is a change in a board position or a change in a chapter advisor. Maybe you have two chapter advisors or there's a change in shipping address. Make sure to update this as much as possible because, again, this is a key reference point for SHEP staff to be able to get in contact with your chapter. Okay. The SWOT analysis tab I know can look a little different than anything that we're used to. But SWOT essentially is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This helps you analyze where your chapter is at in terms of like what are some of the things that you're strongest in. Well, at the same time, what are some of the things that you're the weakest at? Maybe you're not the biggest chapter, but you do all of your chapter members that do show up. They're very spirited, they're very active, right? So that there's a weakness and there's a strength. Where's the opportunity? Maybe the opportunity is that there are a lot of on-campus events that you're able to go and table at, so you can, do a little more recruiting. And what is a threat? Well, a threat is that there's another very popular engineering organization that also has a lot of members, so maybe that's a threat to you, right? So this is very important because based off of that analysis of your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, you're able to build your objectives and your goals for the year. At the same time, you're able to reference the goals and objectives from the year before. And again, we'll have a live demo later where I can kind of go a little more into detail. But again, it's just really good in terms of previous goals, new goals, tracking progress, and guiding strategic decision planning when it comes to events and initiatives. Right? The last tab here is the chapter schedule tab. So this is basically your calendar of events. You are able to put in your objectives and your goals from the last tab right here at the very top, categorize them accordingly. And then at the very bottom right here, where you see chapter strategy, etc., and all of these different columns, this is where you'll actually start to fill it out with all of your events that you have planned out for the rest of the year. You don't have to plan all of your events for the year in one sitting. This is meant to be a living document. So if you only know what events you're going to have like 2 months out, then start filling this out and fill out those, those events for the 2 months that you're going to have events, and who's the intended audience, the dates, even if it's tentative dates, right? Because once you submit this for review, it is a living link. So we want to be able to see that you're progressing with like, oh, they had, all of their events up to October, and then they check it at the next quarter and they say, oh, I've seen the progress up until January. Wow, this is really cool. They've had some successful events, some other events that maybe they could have improved, etc. And again, we'll talk about what all goes into this specific spreadsheet or tab of the spreadsheet later. This note, fun fact, however you want to take it, facilitates writing the NCP. So if you're not familiar with the NCP, I believe that is a separate workshop, but that is a report that essentially all of the information in that report, you're going to need to talk about your highlights, your chapter highlights, achievements, lessons learned, etc. All of that information you can pull from this tool if you set it up properly. So that's a key here because your NCP can lead to you winning awards, which then in turn can lead for you gaining more sponsorships. Maybe that could equivalent to more funding to take people to national convention, more collaborations, etc. So you definitely want to make sure that your CMT is in tip-top shape. All right. Now, how do I use it? How do I customize it? Because not every chapter is the same. Cindy, is this a one size fits all? Absolutely not. So the CMT is meant to be used as like a starting guide or like a a template, right? Uh, for all of your chapter operations. You can definitely change it to however you see fit. It's meant to be user friendly, modifiable. You can remove columns, etc. Formatting, color, as you see here. We've changed the colors up a little bit just to show that you can modify it. In this specific situation, I thought, well, I don't just want to put the status as one column because I also want to put like what are some of the actions that I need to take or my team needs to take in order to implement this event successfully. So I went ahead and added a tab, a separate tab, and that's the action tracker, right? So not just adding or removing columns or rows, but you can also add separate tabs. And again, we'll go a little bit more in detail about how to add tabs and whatnot. You just want to make sure that it works for your chapter. Okay. So some tips for success, I've already mentioned some of these, but for example, assigning a CMT champion. Usually the person who takes the lead in writing the NCP, the report, is the secretary or the vice president. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be the CMT champion and that they are the only ones to update the CMT, right? When we talk about a CMT champion, it's more of like someone who like this is their baby and they always check up on the CMT to see if it's been updated after each event or maybe after every week, after every month, semi frequently, and to make sure that the CMT is actually a living document. Um, Obviously, this works better if you review the CMT frequently, again, officer meetings, retreats, etc. And you can integrate it into your officer transition training. So remember what I talked about building a strong foundation when you're doing officer transitions. This is key. This is where I'm talking about where you can incorporate it in that officer transitions or handover, however you'd like to call it. Again, don't be afraid to tailor the tool to your needs, like I just showed, and I will show you in the live demo as well. Where can you access the CMT? So this is great and all, but where can I find it? Well, the CMT is available on the chapter resources page. So you'll actually have access to these slides. On the slide, you'll be able to click on this chapter resources and go straight to the link. Or you can scan the QR code down here. Click or scan, and it'll take you to the chapter resources page. Now you're going to pull up this page right here online. You're gonna scroll all the way to the bottom, and then you'll see this right here. We're not quite membership. You're actually going to click on the chapter reporting tab, and then down here you'll see the CMT chapter management tool. This is the template, so it's a blank template. You'll be able to download this and use that to start building out your CMT. And then you're going to also have two different examples. So you have the professional CMT example for all of you professional chapters. Then you'll also have the student CMT example for all of you student chapters. One thing to note here, it's a good best practice to look at these for reference because these two CMTs that we're using as examples have been taken from some of the chapters that have been awarded, I believe, gold and silver chapter awards in the previous years. So definitely take a look at it. Even if you've worked on the CMT before, maybe it'd be a good idea to go take a look to see what other chapters are doing and how they're implementing it in their chapter operations. Okay. All right, now it's time for a live demo. I'm going to show you how you can enter your information, update your SWOT analysis, link goals to events, and track your metrics. So we're going to take this. I'm actually using the CMT example, the professional example that's available online in the chapter resources page. And we're going to skip to the SWOT analysis. So if we scroll down, we have 3 different categories, and they're pretty long, right? So this first category, we have SWOT analysis, value provided in recruitment, retention, and SHEP member success. So that's value provided. This is organizing and implementation in the value that's provided, and then value evaluation. How do you evaluate? So like um, your metrics, right? How can you improve? So based off of that, this chapter filled out their SWOT analysis. They identified some strengths, some weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Now, from the previous year, they already had these SMART objectives. For example, here they talk about developing documentation for student outreach events. Here they're talking about empowering students and recent graduates to achieve their career goals. And they kind of go specifically into detail how they're going to do that. Here they talk about hosting at least 4 community events in the year, 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring. Remember, you want SMART goals, right? You want to make sure that they're achievable, they're realistic, they're timely. So based off of those goals, they also filled it out at the end of their year with the the outcomes of said objectives and goals. So they were onboarded. Yes, we did, meet this goal. We were not able to, for example, this one, they said we were not able to meet the goal this past year. And that's completely okay. It is not expected. Like no one, not anyone in SHEP staff is expecting you to be 100% successful in all of your goals. The key here is, again, realistic and achievable goals. If you're able to meet them, great, awesome. If you weren't, let's talk about why not, right? And in the next couple of tabs, you'll be able to input what was the lesson learned here, right? Maybe was it actually too many events that you were trying to host, or maybe was it the kind of events that you were trying to host that it wasn't really meshing with your chapter membership, right? That's the progress that we want to see, and that this tool can help you identify. So moving into the SWOT analysis, once you've done that, obviously you input your vision statement, whether that's your chapter's individual vision statement or you want to use the SHEP national vision statement, that's fine. And then here, the new SMART objectives, once you've already looked at the last year's SMART objectives, you've done your SWOT analysis as your leadership sees the chapter, you can start building out your SMART objectives for the new year. So their first one, for example, host at least 1 social event with another organization to help grow the SHEP Familia, right? And this one is probably looking at their strengths, right? So they want to host at least 1 social event because they know that one of their strengths is that they have high attendance to their social events. So, and then they want to host it with another organization because that is one of their opportunities, collaboration with another organization with similar missions and vision. So this is exactly the way how you can use the SWOT analysis to build your SMART objectives for the year. So going with that goal, let's use that as the example. You take that goal and you go into your calendar. So here you'll see the first one. They have it host at least 1 social event with another organization. So they've put it as their first objective and they've put it in the categorization of the recruitment goal. So we have 3 different categories here, and I'll actually, for the purpose of this video, I'll unhide some of these. So there's 2 that are the same for both student and professional chapters. That's the recruitment goal and the retention goal. And then we have a 3rd goal that is specific for students and specific for professionals. Excuse me, for the students, it's the post-graduation success goal. So you want to be able to promote, track, and support any of your graduates or recent graduates going into the professional pipeline. And then you have, for the professional chapters, you have influence in career and community goals. So how are you helping and influence your community around you and helping your members advance in their careers, right? So depending on if you're a student chapter or professional chapter, you'll hide the other. For the purposes of this one, I am looking at a professional chapter one. So I'm going to hide the student goal. Okay. So back with our first objective, we'll see here that objective one is to host the social event, right? Well, if we look at this row right here, they already have an event. That's their welcome back mixer that aligns with O1, which is their first objective. Okay, then they add also their program, their pillar. Does this cover chapter development, academic excellence, professional development, leadership, community outreach, etc.? So this specifically is chapter development, and they've started filling it out like, okay, we wanted to have it on this date. Who's the audience? What would make this a successful event? Well, if 20 people show up, 30 people ended up showing up afterwards. And then you have this is the documentation and continuous development section. This is what you fill out after the event, right? Okay, what is the history of the event? How did it go? Or what is the description of the event? So the purpose. What was the summary? How did it go? And then what did you learn, right? It went well because XYZ, or this actually was not as successful as we wanted it to be because we actually didn't figure out that there was another event happening at the same time, right? So next time we'll know to coordinate with other surrounding clubs or organizations so that we don't have conflicting events, right? So those are some of the things that you can use this for. Of course, of any budget that is in relation to this event, you can input it in there as well. Status, I personally don't like to use this status column to kind of just write complete, not complete, pending, because when planning an event, there's a lot of steps, right, in the execution. So I actually highlighted this one, and of course we still use it as complete, haven't started, etc. But I actually added an action tracker. And an action tracker, this is just an example. And so I will go here and say, okay, well, that welcome back mixer, I'll type it here. Welcome back mixer. Lead, I'll put myself. Actions, I will say I need to have a meeting for a lot of different things, right? Well, there's going to be a lot of different steps. So meet with the collab organization to set budget and time and location, right? For example, status, not started because I still need to meet with them. Comments, let's say meeting set up for 7/1/25, right? That's my comment. Last update today is 6/18. I can't type today. And then my deadline obviously is going to, for this situation, is going to be 7/1, right? Because that's when I'm going to meet with them. And then that's how you can kind of go. So let's say I'll put my friend Miguel, who's above on some of these. And Miguel's going to be the one who's going to coordinate food logistics. So he's going to figure out all the food logistics, and he hasn't started. So I'll put that on here. Comments, researching ideas, and getting budget approved. Right? His deadline is going to be the day that I have the meeting with the other organization, then that would go here. And then last update is today because I just filled it out. And then you can kind of keep going. You'll see how this starts to line up, and then you can make it all pretty afterwards, right? So this I think would be really helpful if you show up to your executive board meeting or even a working meeting, right, between you and the other organization. And you start filling this out, you start checking boxes saying like, okay, this right here, we already got to the meeting, it's complete, right? We figured everything out. Then Miguel, oh, he's still working on the food logistics, not started. Last update on the first, right? And that's how this becomes a working document, a living document, right? Because you keep updating it. And then, I mean, obviously, we have to market this welcome back mixer. So then you can go and add another tab for a marketing tracker, right? Then we can do the exact same thing where we add, okay, welcome back mixer flyer. Okay, so then somebody's going to be the lead, myself. Platforms not available, right? Because first I need to create the flyer, create flyer, and gather information. Well, we're not going to meet until the first. This is not started yet. Not going to meet until the first, so I'm going to give myself a week to create the flyer. So that probably puts me at 7-8. And then the deadline, let's say 7-10, because we're going to want to post it on the 10th. And just for the purposes of this exercise, I'll put myself as the lead. I'll say I want to post on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, right? Post it on social media. Obviously, I haven't started yet. Comments, need to confirm or need officers to review flyer. The last update, let's say it was today, and then my deadline is 7/12. Once you start filling out this document, you'll start to see like, okay, here's the progress. It can keep accountability for all of your officers. It'd be a lot easier for your president, your vice presidents, or anyone who's like lead of a committee. View the progress for any initiative, marketing item, or event that is being planned. So if somebody goes MIA or somebody goes on vacation, or somebody is just really busy, studying, and you know that they're not available, well, it'd be easy for you to refer to your CMT and say, oh, okay, so they've already taken care of these things. This is pending. Maybe I can help them. I can drop a comment and say, you know what? Selena will take this and highlight it, right? So then the next time that somebody else or pretend I'm Selena. The next time Cindy logs on, then she'll see, oh, okay, Selena will take it. And then, we can change it to Selena's name there. So there's a lot of benefits to the CMT and a lot of flexibility and customization that you can do to it. So just remember that, okay? All right. Now moving back to our presentation, I want you to remember, use this tool to plan, track, and grow. Okay, progress is the name of the game. Customize it to fit your chapter's needs, update it and share regularly. Make sure that it is available somewhere where all of your officers are able to access it, whether that's Google Drive or on Slack or on Discord, anywhere where it's able to be accessible to everyone in your leadership team. Now, for the next sessions, when you do show up to the CCLP discussion sessions, I want you to go in there with two different questions or two answers to two different questions, right? And the questions are, what challenges have you been facing with the CMT? I know there are some returning chapter leaders that are part of chapters who don't exactly use the CMT, and I want to hear more about why. what are some of the challenges that you're facing with it, or maybe you just find other tools that have been more beneficial than the CMT. We're curious in hearing those opinions and ideas. Also, what ideas do you have to make it more useful? So maybe this is great and all, but you have other ways that you've thought about changing the CMT, but maybe just haven't been able to, or you thought that you weren't able to customize it, as I know a lot of you have given me that feedback. So yeah, just come with those, think about those two questions and come ready for a discussion for those sessions. And good luck.